Waterborne disease outbreaks in Canada, examining studies from 1974 to 2011, created and presented by Chelsea and Desiree.
For this presentation, we'll begin with a brief introduction to waterborne diseases in our topic, followed by the objectives of our study. We will present the information gathered as well as the results, discussion, and some concluding remarks.
Waterborne diseases. What exactly are they? Waterborne diseases, also referred to as intestinal disease, are considered to be the most preventable communicable disease. As a vehicle-borne disease, the modes of transmission are commonly through water distribution, sewage systems, and watershed contamination.
A waterborne disease is a pathogen that uses water as the vehicle of transport. A pathogen can be a virus or a bacteria. There are all kinds of waterborne diseases, such as Cryptosporidium, Giardia, West Nile, Salmonella, E. coli, and they can all cause a lot of damage if an outbreak occurs. Bacteria such as cyanobacterial toxins derived from blue-green algae can be harmful to humans, especially if ingested.
Outbreaks. Lots of pathogens transmitted by water come from the feces of animals. E. coli is a mutant bacteria that often resides in the stomachs of cows, linking contamination to farming operations. Agricultural runoff is another vehicle of transmission for E. coli and many other waterborne diseases. Agricultural runoff happens when groups of contaminants come together and enter a water system. During events of heavy rainfall, the potential for runoff is greater if chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides are heavily used at the same time.
There is a global need to determine what factors play a role in waterborne disease outbreaks. 3. There is the potential for water to have an impact on waterborne disease outbreaks. 4. Given that Canada's climate is changing, this could have substantial effect on waterborne disease outbreaks in the future. 5. The Canadian Climate Centre General Circulation Model projects a warming of 4 to 8 degrees Celsius in the south of Canada, in the north of Canada, and an increase of 8 to 12 degrees Celsius in the winter, and a warming of 0 to 6 degrees Celsius in the summer based on a doubling of CO2. Changes in precipitation, including extreme events, are becoming more likely. 6. Changes in precipitation, temperature, humidity, salinity, and wind have measured effect on water quality.
This presentation aims to answer and describe 3 main objectives.
What are the common sources of pollution and modes of transportation into lakes that pose a threat of contaminating the system?
To describe the incidence and distribution of waterborne disease outbreaks in Canada and high-impact weather events occurring prior to an outbreak, as well as to test the association between high-impact weather events and waterborne disease outbreaks.
What preventative measures and strategic planning must be undertaken in order to minimize the chances of waterborne disease outbreak and the potential for contamination in Canadian lakes?
Groundwater versus surface water. Groundwater is likely to be less contaminated than surface water such as lakes and rivers, unless the water is under direct influence of surface water, in which case it's termed.
Cryptosporidium outbreaks have occurred several times in Canada, often associated with contaminated municipal water supplies, either with or without water filtration systems. Cryptosporidium is amongst other diseases, including hepatitis A, which can contribute to historical waterborne disease outbreaks in Canada. 51 outbreaks of Giardia were documented from 1974 to 2011, making it the most common cause of waterborne disease outbreaks. Of these outbreaks, the most common circumstances that serve the causative factors are listed.
Contamination outbreaks. For our purposes in this study, a waterborne disease outbreak was defined as 2 or more cases of disease occurring at the same place and time linked to a drinking water supply. All the outbreaks we looked at occurred across Canada between the years of 1974 and 2011. We obtained a list of 168 suitable outbreaks.
This study found that during the last half-century, waterborne disease outbreaks followed a period of extreme rainfall. Projections of international global climate change scenarios suggest that under conditions of global warming, Excess precipitation, floods, high temperatures, and drought are likely to increase the risk of waterborne illnesses in Canada.
Climate change. As climate change increases, the occurrence of severe weather conditions also increase.
This factor sees a reduction in water and food sources and an introduction of vectors and carrier animals along with new diseases that may be associated with the shipping of new food. Water scarcity as a result of temperature increase is also linked to food quality. Higher temperatures mean higher microbial activity.
This, in turn, can affect hygiene practices, which can also contribute to possible outbreaks.
Extreme precipitation and weather events are among the greatest modes of transportation for waterborne diseases to humans and animals.
For our exposure variables that we called high-impact weather events, that is a short-term weather event that contributes high volumes of water and causes substantial overflow.
Canada is categorized into 15 terrestrial ecozones based on soil. The map of ecozones was overlaid with a map of the outbreak.
Results. Here we have a map of Canada with the different ecozones indicated by the different colors. The red dots indicate where a waterborne disease outbreak took place. The outbreaks took place in 8 of Canada's 15 terrestrial ecozones.
Distribution of outbreaks by months of onset. Outbreaks were reported in all 12 months of the year. The greatest number of outbreaks, 16%, were reported in July and March.
Prevention. A key technique implemented within Canada to protect our lakes and secure safe drinking water is the multi-barrier approach. This focuses on protecting against all contributing factors that may degrade source water quality and ensuring quality drinking water treatment. As demonstrated by the events that occurred in Walkerton in 2000, the exception to improper monitoring and prevention can be tragic.
These outbreaks are often the result of a combination of failures, such as organisms within the watershed area, identified as the most common source of contamination, weather events that tend to exacerbate any underlying vulnerabilities created by inadequate water protection or inadequate treatment, and main breaks and cross connections that are the common causes of outbreaks traced to water distribution systems. Water quality hazards within distribution systems are challenging because they are difficult to anticipate and detect.
Most residents of Canada receive high-quality, safe drinking water supplies. These people are remarkably lucky, particularly when the contrast to the amount of deaths related to unsafe drinking water that plagues many undeveloped countries is considered. A review of drinking water outbreaks in developed countries of the past couple of decades reveals some of the reasons why drinking water still experiences waterborne disease outbreaks. These outbreaks occur even in societies that have the technology to prevent them. To prevent future outbreaks, a commitment to learn from past mistakes and implement prevention mechanisms is required.
In summary, changes to Canadian weather events increase the possibility for waterborne disease outbreaks as increases in temperature increase trophic states and microbial activity. Heavy rainfall events contribute to increased sedimentation and runoff. An increase in temperature leads to drought, which enables pathogens to remain in smaller amounts of water in higher concentrations.
Thank you for watching our presentation.